Imagine waiting 100 years. For a child, everyone said, you would never have. Imagine finally holding the son God Himself promised you. Then one morning, God speaks. Take your son, your only son, Isaac, whom you love, and offer him as a burnt offering on one of the mountains I will show you. No explanation, no warning, no reason, just one impossible command. Why would a loving God ask a father to sacrifice the very son He had miraculously given him? Was God changing His mind? Was this really what God wanted? Or was something much greater happening on that mountain? Today, we're uncovering one of the most mysterious and most misunderstood stories in the entire Bible. Long before this terrifying command, Abraham had received an incredible promise from God. God told him that his descendants would become a great nation. The problem was, Abraham was already an old man. His wife Sarah was also elderly and had never been able to have children. Year after year, they waited. Decade after decade, they hoped. Their bodies grew weaker. Their dreams grew quieter. Yet God's promise never changed. Then, when Abraham was 100 years old and Sarah was 90, the impossible happened. Isaac was born. His name meant he laughs, because what once seemed impossible had become reality. Isaac wasn't just Abraham's son. He was God's promise. He was the future. Everything God had spoken depended on this one child. Abraham loved Isaac with all his heart, which is exactly why God's next command would become the greatest test of Abraham's life. One morning, without warning, God spoke again. Take your son, your only son Isaac, whom you love, and sacrifice him. There was no explanation, no promise, no comforting words, only silence. Imagine Abraham standing there, his heart racing, his mind filled with questions. How could God ask this? Wasn't Isaac the promised child? If Isaac died, how could God's promise ever come true? The Bible never records Abraham arguing, never says he questioned God. Instead, the very next morning, he got up early, prepared the donkey, gathered wood, took 2 servants, and began the journey. Not away from God's command, but toward it. The journey lasted 3 long days. 3 days to think. 3 days to wonder. 3 days to carry a secret too painful to speak. Can you imagine the thoughts going through Abraham's mind? Should he tell Sarah? Would Isaac understand? Was there another way? Every step toward the mountain must have felt heavier than the last. Finally, the mountain appeared in the distance. Abraham told his servants, "Stay here with the donkey. The boy and I will go over there to worship, and we will come back to you." Notice those words carefully. We will come back. Somehow, even before seeing a miracle, Abraham still believed God would keep his promise. He didn't know how, but he trusted the God who had never failed him before. Abraham placed the wood for the sacrifice on Isaac's shoulders. Together, father and son climbed the mountain. Then Isaac asked a question that has echoed through history. "Father?" "Yes, my son." "We have the fire. We have the wood. But where is the lamb for the burnt offering?" What an unforgettable moment. Abraham looked at his beloved son, the very child he had waited a century to hold, and answered, "God Himself will provide the lamb." Those words carried more truth than Abraham could possibly understand. At the top of the mountain, Abraham built an altar, carefully arranged the wood. Then, the unimaginable happened. He bound Isaac. The Bible doesn't describe Isaac fighting. It doesn't tell us he tried to escape. Perhaps he trusted his father, just as Abraham trusted God. Slowly, Abraham lifted the knife. The wind grew still. Heaven watched. Then, a voice thundered from heaven. "Abraham! Abraham!" He froze. "Do not lay a hand on the boy. Now I know that you fear God, because you have not withheld your son, your only son." The nightmare was over. Isaac lived. The sacrifice would not happen. As Abraham looked around, he saw something remarkable. A ram. Its horns caught in a nearby thicket. God had already provided another sacrifice, exactly as Abraham had declared. God himself will provide. The ram died, so Isaac could live. Abraham named that place, "The Lord will provide." And on that mountain, God reaffirmed his promise. Because Abraham had trusted him completely, his descendants would become countless, and through his family, the entire world would be blessed. So why did God ask Abraham to sacrifice Isaac? Was God trying to encourage human sacrifice? Absolutely not. Throughout the Bible, God clearly condemns child sacrifice. This event was never about God's desire for Isaac's death. It was about revealing Abraham's faith. God already knew Abraham's heart. But through this test, the whole world would see what genuine faith looks like.